Song for a Whale, Chapter 20. After I calmed down, I decided I wouldn't let my family's response bother me. They just didn't get it. I'd firm up a plan with Andy, then try again with Mom and Dad. When they saw the proof that a real scientist was impressed by my idea and wanted me to come help out at the sanctuary, there's no way they'd say no. They'd see how important it was. When an email from Andy came in later that night, I almost started packing a bag for Alaska. Then I read the message. Dear Iris, I'm so sorry if I give you the idea that you should hop on a plane and fly here right now. That would be really hard for your family to do. It's a long way to go on short notice. Plus, you might get here and then there's nothing to see anyway. If Blue 55 doesn't show up, sometimes science is kind of boring like that. You do a lot of planning and work, and then nature doesn't cooperate like you wish it would. If your parents bring you sometime, that's great, but they'll want to take some time to plan the trip. But please know that the view you'll have on on a computer at home will be the same one the other members of the team will have, or even better. Tagging a whale is important work, but it's dangerous. We have to get really close to the whale to put the tracker on him. A slap from his tail could knock us out of the boat. Only one other person from the team will be out there with me, and that's the guy steering the boat. Everyone else who's been working on the expedition will be inside the sanctuary watching on a video screen, or they'll watch from outside on the dock, but they won't see much from there. You'll be able to see everything our cameras pick up from underwater and on the boat. Afterward, I'll be happy to send you the information we get from 55's tracker. That way, you'll know where he is and when he's singing too. Again, thank you so much for all the work you did on this and for sending us the song. I'd love to talk to you more about it, and I hope we'll keep in touch. I know you're going to do great things, and I'll be interested in seeing what other work you do for animals in the future. Andy. I yanked 55's sheet of music off my wall so hard the corners ripped and pushpins flew out of their holes. Before tearing the page to pieces, I stopped myself. It wasn't his fault. This was Blue 55's song. Whatever he was saying, whatever this language was, it was his. Still, I wouldn't be able to look at it anymore. I folded it up along with his picture and buried it in the bottom drawer of my desk. Wendell didn't have his own phone yet, so we had to chat online instead of texting. The chat window on the computer showed a red dot next to his name. I'd send a message anyway for him to read whenever he got online. I heard back from the sanctuary. After that, I didn't know what else to say. The dot next to his name stayed red as I sat there slumped in my chair. Finally, I gave up and flopped into bed. Mom came upstairs later to tell me that Wendell was on the video phone. I shook my head and let her know I'd have to talk to him another time. Lifting my arms to have a conversation would take too much effort. A string of messages from Wendell was waiting for me when I got online the next morning. What did they say? Did they like your song? Are you going to play it? Well, are you alive? In the chat window, I typed, Hey, sorry. I didn't want to talk yesterday, but yeah, I heard back. They love my idea. I waited while he typed a response. That's great. So then what was wrong yesterday? They invited me to visit sometime, and I want to be there to meet the whale. My parents say it's too far away. I'll get a t shirt from the sanctuary. Oh, and a shout out from the boat while they're meeting the whale, using the song that I gave them. Wendell didn't type anything for a while, then wrote, I'm sorry, Iris. That's not fair. It's your idea, right? So you should get to go. I'd gone to bed feeling like I'd never be happy again, but I smiled a little then. Even though Wendell couldn't do anything to change what happened, it helped to have someone understand how unfair it was. Thanks, Wendell. I'll be okay, I guess. But I'll really be mad about it for a while. They'll show the expedition online, but I don't think I'll watch. Yeah, I wouldn't either. Well, come over again whenever you want. Jupiter and its moons will be visible soon. Thanks. See you later. Dad came in and sat on the edge of the bed while I was wrapping up my conversation with Wendell. He was holding a set of computer speakers. When I swiveled my chair around, Dad pointed at the computer. I waved him over and stood next to the chair so he could sit. He plugged in the speakers, then brought up a YouTube video of an old record player. Not as old as the one in my Admiral set, but still pretty old. Instead of a round record like the ones I'd seen, this had a square record spinning on a turntable. In the middle of the record was a line drawing of a humpback whale. I placed a hand on the speaker as the record played. The vibrations reminded me of some of the whale songs I'd found online. Dad opened up the notepad on the computer. His typing was a lot faster and made more sense than his singing. My parents got this in a magazine when I was a kid. He clicked back to the video and pointed to the title, Songs of the Humpback Whale, National Geographic, 1979. Then he pointed to himself and pretended he was putting on headphones. Every day, he signed. We sat there for a while, him listening to the whale songs and me feeling the song through the speaker. Both of us watching the spinning record in the video. Dad raised and lowered his hand to show me how the song flowed from low to high and back again in waves. I remembered from the sheet music I'd looked at that humpbacks were the symphony players. The description of the video said their sounds range from very low to very high. So they didn't sometimes hit 55 hertz as they sang from 20 to 100 to thousands of hertz. Small parts of their songs had to sound like Blue 55s. I wondered if he ever recognized any of their sounds when he was close enough to hear them. A few notes of a song at least. Before this, no one knew they had such complex songs. Dad typed, there used to be a lot more whale hunting. After hearing them, people protested against hunting whales. There was more to them than anyone knew. So their songs saved them. That was how powerful they were. I wanted to find them too, he added. The whales I signed? He nodded. That's how you sign it, like a letter Y. Yeah, see how it looks like the shape of a whale's tail? He held out his right hand with just the thumb and pinky sticking out. I showed him how to move the hand up and down in waves to look like the tail of a swimming whale, while making a horizon with the other arm. Maybe this was Dad's way of apologizing to me for what happened at dinner. I was still mad I wasn't going to get to go to Alaska to meet the whale, but this was something we'd be able to talk about. We'd never had that before, something that we were both interested in. I hadn't thought that reaching out to Blue 55 would help me reach out to Dad too, but that was before I knew he was interested in whale songs. He must have understood how important they were to me now, since he came up to my room to tell me how he used to listen to them. I was about to ask him more about the songs on the record when he typed, I wish you could hear them. I wanted to tell Dad that I could hear the whales, just not the same way he did. I didn't know how to explain that he'd understand. Every day I tried to forget about Blue 55. No more reading about whales or the sanctuary expedition. For a while, I wore a wooden zenith knob alone on my necklace, but I put the compass back on since I missed the weight of it resting on my chest. I still like to think about the people who might have used it a long time ago to find their way. Mr. Gunner gave me his most hopeless case, an ancient radio that should have been left for dead ages ago. But I'd figure it out. With radios, it was clear how the parts communicated. And whenever I fixed it, I'd know. There were, that was how electronics were. Either the thing worked or it didn't. There wasn't any guessing about it. It took scientists a long time to figure out how whales make their sounds. They don't open their mouths and sing like people do. The singing happens inside the spaces in their bodies by pushing air into their throats and sinuses. When I reached into the radio, the old wire insulation crumbled to dust in my hands. Even if I got everything working, a bare metal wire could burn up all the work I'd done. I dug through the bundle of wires on my workbench looking for replacements. Was Blue 55 singing right then? Did anyone hear him? I set the radio aside and went to my desk. My end of the year research paper for Ms. Khan was due soon, and I hadn't started yet. I'd chosen radio communication as my topic, then asked her if I could change it to whales. Not that I didn't care about radios, but I could put all my whale research to use for my report. If I asked to change my topic again, Ms. Khan's face would turn inside out with sour uh, pickleness. But I couldn't write about whales anymore. When I turned it in, I'd tell her I'd changed my mind. I brought up my favorite sites about radio history to take some notes. FM radio signals can be detected 30 to 40 miles away. That wasn't so impressive now that I knew how far a whale song could travel. It could drift even farther than hundreds of miles. A song could reach up from the waves and halfway across the country, beating in time with someone's heart or pulling her to the ocean. The sanctuary people finding him wouldn't be the same. Someone who heard him, who understood him, needed to be there. I shook my head to clear away the thought. Then I shook out my hands, too, trying to release the grip that Blue 55 had on me. There wasn't any point in thinking about him anymore. It would have to be enough that I'd help him. I'd stick to what I was good at, fixing things and forgetting about that whale. The website I brought up had examples of emergency communication using radios and telegraphs. I'd add one of the stories to my report. One farmer connected his farm radio into his tractor battery when the radio's battery died. He heard the news about a coming storm just in time to get his family safely into the root cellar. Then there was a shopkeeper who sent his daughter out to town to keep her away from the newspaper reporter she loved. After the reporter's, quote, Matilda, please marry me telegram reached her, they each took a they each took a minister to a telegraph station and were married by Morse code before Matilda returned home. A soldier in a prisoner of war camp made a radio with a scrap of wood, a razor blade, a pencil, and a safety pin, and a piece of wire from the fence surrounding the camp. At night, he listened to reports about the war and passed the news along to his fellow prisoners. I pulled 55's picture and sheet music from my desk drawer where I'd hidden them, then tacked them back into the place on the wall. People who were desperate to communicate always found a way. I'd find a way.